The Édouard Manet's A Bar at the Folies-Bergère. You've probably seen it before, maybe in an art history class, on some coffee table book trying to look classy, or even as a random meme. But here's the thing, this painting isn't just a pretty snapshot of 19th century nightlife, it's basically the Victorian version of a cryptic tweet, full of hidden messages, distorted perspectives, and enough symbolism to make your head spin. From its clever reflections to the slightly off vibe of the barmaid, this painting has been confusing art lovers, scholars, and casual museum goers for over a century, and today we're cracking it wide open, because trust me, there's more drama in this bar than your last group chat. Let's jump into the world of Manet, the Folies-Bergère, and all the secrets lurking in the glassy-eyed gaze of our mysterious bartender. Okay, first things first, if you haven't seen the painting, imagine walking into a trendy bar today. There's a tired-looking bartender, bottles lined up behind them, and a mirror reflecting the chaos of the night. Sound familiar, right? But in a bar at the Folies-Bergère, things start feeling weird the longer you look at it. Apparently, the Folies-Bergère was a real place, and it wasn't just your average Parisian nightlife spot, it was the 1880s version of Coachella meets Vegas. You had everything: ballet, circus acts, and let's not sugarcoat it, some extra services courtesy of the barmaids. Yep, the ladies behind the counter weren't just selling drinks, they were, as writer Guy de Maupassant so delicately put it, vendors of drink and love. Subtle, right? So, here's the setup. Édouard Manet, who loved a good sketch session at the Folies-Bergère, painted this scene and dropped it at the Paris Salon in 1882. But instead of spilling all the tea, he decided to keep the barmaid anonymous, leaving us all guessing. It's like when a movie leaves a post-credit scene that raises more questions than answers. Plot twist, we now know her name was Suzanne. Yep, she went from mystery bartender to someone whose name sounds like it could belong to your favorite aunt. Honestly, the fact that Manet kept Suzanne nameless in this exhibit is peak leave them wanting more energy. But now that we know her name, it's hard not to wonder what she thought about being immortalized in a painting that's half optical illusion, half where's the drama happening here. Manet really knew how to keep us all talking, even more than a century later. It must be known that Manet didn't just paint a bar at the Folies-Bergère on the fly. No, he posed Suzanne in his studio to get all the details right. And then, because Manet just couldn't resist stirring the pot, he casually added a dish of oranges in the foreground. Sounds harmless, right? Wrong. According to art history, Larry L. Lego, these oranges aren't just a healthy snack, they're basically a neon sign stating that Suzanne might have been moonlighting as a prostitute. Yeah, apparently in Manet's world, oranges means for sale, but who knew fruit could be so shady? But wait, it gets juicier. T.J. Clark, another art historian, backs this up by saying Suzanne isn't just serving drinks, she's being served up as part of the deal. She's both a salesperson and commodity, the 19th century equivalent of a 2-for-1 happy hour spécial. And honestly, it tracks, because the Folies-Bergère wasn't just a classy music hall, it was the hotspot for mixing business with pleasure. So, next time you see that bowl of oranges, don't just think vitamin C, think, wow, Manet really went there. Moving on to the painting itself, at first glance, it seems like a straightforward scene of a bar in Paris, Circe, 1882. You've got the bartender, decked out in your latest Parisian fashion, serving drinks to an unseen crowd. But then, your eyes wander to the mirror behind her, and that's when things get trippy. In the mirror, the perspective is all wrong. The barmaid's reflection is slightly off to the right, and the man she's supposedly serving, well, he's nowhere to be found in the foreground. It's like one of those Instagram pics where someone's trying to subtly crop out their ex but didn't quite get it right. So, what's Manet playing at? Is it a mistake? A stylistic choice? Or is it something deeper? Spoiler alert, it's definitely deeper. Now, let's talk about that reflection, because it's the most famous gotcha moment in art history. If you're a fan of modern artists like Salvador Dali or René Magritte, you know a thing or two about visual mind games. But Manet was out here in the 1880s, messing with perspective long before surrealism made it cool. Here's the deal. Our exhausted bartender queen, Suzanne, is standing in front of the bar, but then you look at the mirror behind her and her reflection is straight up lifeless. lying to you. In the reflection, she's turned slightly to the side, chatting with a man. Or is she? Because when you look at her, she's definitely not talking to anyone. She's just standing there like, I don't get paid enough for this. And the man? He's like the ghost of bad decisions past, just hovering there, blurry and mysterious. The illusion is making our head spin. But wait, that's not all, because here's where it gets wild. If you've ever tried to check yourself out in a shop window, only to make awkward eye contact with someone inside, you now know how reflection should work. But Manet said, nah, let's break the rules. That guy in the mirror, he isn't standing where he should be. Instead of being directly in front of Suzanne, he's way off to the side, like he's in a totally different dimension, or maybe a Marvel multiverse. If the laws of reflection worked here, that man should be standing smack in front of her. But no, Manet said, let's spice things up, and moved him just enough to mess with your head. And then there's our barmaid herself. The mirror suggests she's leaning toward the man, but in real life, she's standing straight on, facing us, looking like she's 2 seconds away from quitting her job and walking out. It's almost like her reflection has its own drama going on, separate from what she's actually doing. It's giving Black Mirror meets The Office, unsettling but also a little funny if you think about it too hard. Oh, and let's not forget the bar itself. Manet tilted it ever so slightly in the painting, creating this sneaky vanishing point that pulls your eyes directly to Suzanne's face. Looking deeper into the bar in the background, we see a random pair of green feet chilling in the upper left corner. Those don't belong to some oddly fashionable patron. They're from a trapeze artist performing midair above the crowd. Imagine trying to enjoy your drink while someone's flipping around overhead. It's basically Cirque du Soleil before it was cool. And then there are the beer bottles. If you're into label spotting, you'll notice the iconic red triangle of Bass Pale Ale, a British beer that Manet clearly wanted us to see. Why not German beer, you ask? Well, art historians think this was Manet's subtle way of throwing shade at Germany. France was still salty after the Franco-Prussian War, and apparently even beer became part of the petty drama. Talk about art spilling the tea, beer. Looking at Suzanne again, our main center of attraction, Manet forces us to look at her, even though no one else in the scene seems to care that she exists. The crowd in the background, completely oblivious. The guy in the reflection, looking past her. It's like she's the main character of a story no one else knows they're in. What's extra iconic is that despite being right there in the middle of the painting, the barmaid isn't even named in the title. Manet called this masterpiece a bar at the Folies-Bergère, making it all about the setting, not the person. Classic case of the background stole the show. Édouard Manet's A Bar at the Folies-Bergère has aged like fine wine, or maybe a really well-poured glass of champagne. Originally unveiled in 1882, it was both praised and side-eyed by critics who didn't know what to do with its mind-bending reflections and subtle social commentary. At first, critics didn't really get it. People were like, why is the mirror lying? What's up with the oranges? And is that guy even real? Fast forward over a century, and now it's hailed as one of the most brilliant works of art ever. Talk about a glow-up. What makes this painting iconic is how it plays with perspective, reality, and let's be honest, our sanity. Some say it's about loneliness in a crowd, others argue it's a commentary on consumer culture. Either way, it's still sparking debates, think pieces, and memes. Today, it's treated as a timeless masterpiece, studied by scholars, gushed over in museums, and dissected by every art history student who's ever pulled an all-nighter. And Suzanne, the bartender, she went from anonymous background character to Beyoncé of 19th century Paris. People still flock to see her at the Courtauld Gallery in London, proving that A Bar at the Folies-Bergère is more than just a painting. It's a cultural icon. Manet may have not lived to see it, but he left us with the ultimate conversation starter. So let's start up a conversation with you. What exactly do you see when you look at A Bar at the Folies-Bergère painting? Let us know in the comment section below. Thank you for watching this video. Hit like, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell so you get notified about more content from us.